What makes people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars different than you? What makes them special? How did they do that? Today, I'm going to share with you the 21 traits that I've learned from meeting, hanging out with, getting to know, and talking to $100 million and above net worth individuals. These are people like Ed Milet, who I just hung out at his house with him for a day last week. This is Dan Martell, who I'm about to get in office with in a few weeks from now. This is Iman Gadji, Alex Ramosi, and a bunch of other guys as well. So I've got 21 traits that I've observed from talking with them, from hanging out with them, from meeting them, that I want to share with you in this video. Number one, they weren't born that way. A lot of people think that extremely wealthy people have these inherent qualities or traits that they're just born with. But that's so far from the truth. If you look at Dan Martell, he's got an incredible story. And when he was in his teens, he was 16, 17 years old, he almost died, and then he went to prison. And he was dealing drugs and stuff like that. He had a gun and was gonna get himself offed by the cops. And how does somebody like that, fast forward 20, 25 years, create a net worth of hundreds of millions of dollars and a massive impact on the world? They're not born with it, they're created. So one day they woke up and they said, I'm tired of living the way that I am right now. I'm tired of the life that I've created for myself. And they take ownership and accountability for where they're at. So they weren't born, they were created. Very intentionally, they decided, this is what I want for my life. Now, who do I have to become in order to achieve that? This gives me a lot of relief and inspiration and motivation, because if they can do it from much worse scenarios than I grew up in, then so can I, right? Ed Milet, he was literally telling us about how him and his wife, they had the water turned off in their apartment because in their 20s, because he couldn't afford it, scraping by. And now he's worth $800 million and just bought an island. Insane. So number one is they weren't born this way. They were created intentionally. Number two, they're obsessed. They almost have an addiction to what they're doing. They're absolutely obsessed. They optimize every component of their life to kind of fulfill this obsession. And it's not an unhealthy obsession. It's actually a really healthy obsession, because they're channeling their obsessive nature or their obsessive tendencies and traits to a very powerful, positive thing, right? Like their businesses, their brands and all that kind of stuff, right? And so if you look at them versus everybody else, it's so easy to see that when they set their mind to something, they become so obsessed with it and with every component of it, right? They want to learn all of the ins and outs of everything they're doing. They want to become masters. They want to be the best in the world at what it is that they're doing. And so some people would call this and it's so interesting too, because I've heard people talk about they use their obsessive personality as a negative thing. They use it as an excuse to why they can't achieve success. But these guys, they use it as their advantage, because they know how to channel that in the right direction. So that's number two. Number three, they take an immense amount of pride in their work. They are truly masters of their craft, because business and work is their art form. It's their way of expressing themselves. Most people don't have a way, for example, I'm very musically challenged. I'm very artistically challenged. I can't draw for shit. I can't sing for shit. If I try to play guitar or drum, I look like an idiot. However, I still need to express myself some way. So I do that through my content, through my business, and the programs and stuff like that, right? And so do these guys as well. They see their businesses that they're building as Michelangelo's paintings, the Sistine Chapel. That's their version of it. And so they express themselves fully through their work in like the highest way possible, because that's how they express themselves and they want to reach their full true potential. And the way that they do that is by giving it their all. Number 4, they're risk takers and they bet on themselves. So I have never seen guys, like the most successful people I know are the ones who have taken the biggest risks that I know. They go all in, they burn their boats. There's no plan B. They have this knowing that one day they're going to figure it out, one day it's going to work out, right? And I'll touch on kind of the reason why in another point coming up here too, actually in the next one. But they bet on themselves, they take risks, they invest in themselves. They're always learning, right? Every single day they're reading books, they're writing books, they're hiring coaches and mentors, and like they're just going all in, right? I understood this point last year, and this year I've invested nearly $250,000 on getting in the right room with the right people, on joining programs and masterminds, and like going to seminars and stuff like that, because I've seen, like, I'm just copying. I'm just like, it's like monkey see, monkey do, right? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just doing what these guys are doing and hoping it's gonna work out. But chances are, if that's what these guys are doing, then it probably will, right? And so, they're not afraid to pay what most people would think are like disgusting amounts of money for the right information, and with a knowing that no matter what information that they get, they're going to apply it and they're going to make it worth it, right? A lot of people are like afraid that like, oh, I'm gonna join this coaching program or buy this course and it's gonna suck. But it's like, dude, even if you get one golden nugget from it, it'll get you one step closer to where you wanna get to. And that's the way I look at it. So whenever even if I spend like tens of thousands of dollars on one thing, it's like, as long as I get one thing from it and just helps me get a little bit extra clarity, boom, I'm good to go, right? Because a really interesting frame shift that I've had over the last couple of years is like, even if the thing that I buy sucks, it's not their fault, it's mine. Because A, I trusted them, and B, if I can't get anything out of it, then like there must be something wrong with me. We're like, yeah, so anyways. Number 5, this one's really, really interesting. They have such a powerful, deep relationship with God. And I know a lot of people are gonna take this one very interestingly, and it actually kind of like, well, most of them do anyways. But like if you look at Alex Hormozi, he doesn't like really think, like he believes that like there's nothing there. But the other guys I know, like whether they call it God, the universe, like whatever terminology they want to use, they're so connected to like a higher power, whether they see it or not, right? So Hormozi doesn't really acknowledge that too much. However, you can tell through his content, through his businesses and his success, that he's anointed to some degree, right? He's favored. And that, I believe, is because he puts that out there as well, right? It's like one of those things where it's like, the more you give, the more you get. And I think that's just like a relationship there. And like, you can tell he's got rock solid faith in himself. He might not give that credit to something outside of him. But like Dan, Ed, a bunch of the other guys I know, they do a lot. And so like, they're very humble in that regard too, where they think that like they're just a servant and they're just like fulfilling their purpose of a servant and fulfilling what they're meant to do while on this floating rock that's spinning around. And yeah, and you can see it, like they're anointed. They are kind of like, they're favored. I was at the gym yesterday with one of my friends, and we're kind of talking about that, and he was like, yeah, man, he's like, I kind of feel like I'm the chosen one. I'm like, I always joke around and say I'm God's favorite. And these guys clearly do as well, right? They hold that belief, because if you believe that, then our beliefs, like our mind works to prove our beliefs true. And so if we believe that we are God's favorite, then guess what? We're gonna find proof that that's true. Number 6, They choose their circle very, very carefully. They only surround themselves with people that are going to add value to themselves, to add value to their lives, to fill them up with energy instead of drain them. They're very selective with the people that they let into their life and with the people that they keep into their life. And so many people struggle with this because whether they see it or not, right? Because most people out there, especially if you want to become part of the 1% or the 0.1% or the 0.01%, that means 99.99% of people do not belong in your circle. And that's a hard pill to swallow. That's one in every, 1,000? One in every 10,000, I think. Wow, one in every 10,000 people are gonna be good. The others, they gotta go. And even if there's like one breach in character, there's one chink in your armor that these guys see, and they're extremely good at reading people. They remove you from their lives without hesitation, without second guessing. They just do it. They say, oh, that's not the kind of guy I want to be around. See you later. So choose your circle very, very wisely and very carefully. Now, number 7, on top of that, not only do they choose their circle very carefully and very wisely, but they take extremely good care of the people in their circle. So the people that they do let in, they make sure they're looked after. They make sure they have everything that they need and want and desire. They protect them, they provide for them, and they truly care about who they are, and they love them to bits. Now, there's a weird notion, I think it's from when we were children growing up watching Disney movies, the villains, the evil guys were always the rich ones, right? Or the rich guys were always evil and selfish and they're greedy and they're pigs and stuff like that. And that's so not true, because the most successful people I know, the ones that I've actually met in person, are the ones that are so generous and they're so they want to care for people, they want to look after people, and they want to especially the people in their circle, right? And that's one of the other points I'll get to in a minute. But the people that they do choose to keep in their circle, they look after them. I think that's really cool. All right, number 8. This one is very powerful. They're masters of the fundamentals. The more I hang out with and spend time with guys that are way smarter and richer than me, the most common thing that keeps punching me in the gut is dude, they're not special. They're just masters of the basics. They're masters of consistency. They're masters of their habits and their routines. So it's nothing they don't do anything that out of the ordinary, that crazy. What they do is they just wake up early. They go to bed early. They read every single day. They journal or pray or meditate every single day, and they quiet their mind. They eat clean. It's the basics. They're filling their brain with good inputs so they can have good outputs coming out. And they just do that for a long period of time, right? They work out, they exercise every single day. They look after their bodies. And so many people are looking for the hacks and the silver bullets and the cheat codes and the magic pill you can take to get you successful. And it's so far from the truth. And literally the more like I said, the more I talk to these guys, the more I realize they've just mastered their basics. They're just masters of the fundamentals. They've just been doing it for a long time, and they're very consistent with it. So that should give you a lot of hope, because if all you got to do is just do the boring shit every single day that most people aren't willing to do, then you will become very successful. If you want to have what others don't, you have to do what others won't. One of my friend's dad, he was a mentor before he passed away, that was one of his favorite lines. He was a man that was willing to do what others would not. And that's why he built a very, very big net worth and left a big impact on a lot of people, including me. Number 9, they dream big and they have a crystal clear vision. This one's powerful. There's a great verse in Proverbs that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And most people don't know what the hell they want in life. Most people don't know what they are even, why they're even waking up, right? And at some point, like, and this was really interesting too, at least for me, like it started like selfishly, where it's like, I just want to make 5 to 10K a month so I could be rich and travel the world and do whatever I want, right? That was my motivation. I was like, I want to be rich so I can get out of my parents' basement and go live in a villa in Bali. Like that was what I wanted to do. That was my dream. That was why I was starting a business, right? So it was very selfish. It was very like internal. But then when I did that, I was like, I didn't go to Bali, I didn't travel. Maybe that'll be in the cards soon. We'll see. Next client retreat. Who knows? Maybe next year. But anyways, when you do that, you realize that like, oh, okay, this is like, I did it. It was cute and fun. And now what? And that's when you have to really shift your motivations and your intentions to something outside of you, a bigger purpose. And these ultra high net worth guys that I know, they're driven by something bigger than them. Their vision is so big that they attract so many incredible people into their life to help make that happen and to help that come to fruition. But they're also so clear on exactly what they want. So they don't wake up tired and groggy and kind of dreading the day. They're excited to attack the day because they're so excited about this thing that they're building and the reason why they're building it. So keep your vision crystal clear. Dare to dream big, right? Don't hold back. Most people limit themselves. Don't put a limiter on yourself, right? Don't suppress yourself and what you think is possible. All you have to know is what you want and where you're going. And you have to like release and let go of the addiction to understanding the path to get there. We don't know what that is. Like, think about where you're at right now. It's like 5 years ago, maybe you wanted to be where you're at right now, right? Hopefully. 5 years ago, like, did you know what the steps were going to be to get here? Like 5 years ago, did you know exactly which steps in which order, in which sequence was going to get you to where you're at right now? Chances are probably not. I had no idea. I just knew that I wanted to make a bunch of money, have a nice place, drive a nice car, and that was it, right? And now I have all that stuff. But it's like, if you asked me 5 years ago if I thought I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I would have thought you're crazy. So we don't have to know the way. We just have to take that first step into the darkness, into the unknown, and then everything else will start to uncover itself as we get closer. So dream big, have a crystal clear vision. Number 10, they take relentless action and they work extremely hard. So these guys are some of the hardest workers I know. So it's nothing about luck that helped them achieve net worths of 9 figures and above. It's got nothing to do with luck, right? It's got everything to do with them working very, very hard. It's one thing to visualize and have a big vision and dream a lot, but you have to pair that with extremely hard work, because if nothing gets done, then you're not going to get to where you want to get to, right? You got to do the shit. You have to become the person that's worthy of achieving the stuff that you want, right? And most people, again, aren't willing to do that. And not only are these guys like willing to do this, but they actually do it, and they work extremely hard. So when they get up, they are like locked in, they're dialed in, they work harder than anybody else around them, and that's why they have what most other people don't. So work hard, don't be afraid of the hard shit. And that's why I think like physical things are important. Like when I've ran like ultras and marathons and stuff like that, it's like what that does to your mind. Like really when I climb like huge mountains, it's like I'm just spending like a 17-hour hike with like all your gear in the back. Like it sucks. It fucking sucks. But it teaches you hard work and discipline and consistency and just barreling through and hammering through things when they get tough. So work hard. All right. Number 11, they've built their personal brands. So they understand that where attention goes, money flows. And especially in today's day and age, I think everybody who doesn't hate money should have a personal brand. Start making content, right? Even if you like, you might not even know what you should be making content on. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Just like start learning stuff and then like applying that to your life, and then talk about what you've been learning and what you've been doing, and just document the process. I wish I had done this so much sooner. It like makes my stomach curl thinking about where I'd be at right now. It sucks, but that doesn't matter because I did start and I'm doing it now. And future Jeremy is going to thank me so much, so much for this. And the reason they build personal brands, like the reason why I put this on here, and the reason why it's important, is because in order to achieve the vision that they want, in order to make the amount of impact they want to make in the world, they have to have the reach and the attention to do that. And that's what the personal brand is so powerful for, because it puts you on the map, not only for the people that you're trying to sell to, but to the people at and above your level that you want to connect with, that will provide you with the resources, the connections, the relationships, and everything else that you need in order to do that as well. It unlocks so many doors that you never would think are possible. It's crazy. All right. Number 12, they protect their time extremely well. They truly embody the fact that time is our most precious resource, right? We can trade, like, if you want to get to your goals, there's two resources we can trade: money and time. But you can only get time back, right? You can get money back that comes and goes. It's printed every day, and it's pretty easy to get once you understand how it works, but you can never get your time back. And these guys literally, like, most people, like, they hear that and like, they're like, oh yeah, I take my time seriously. And then they just like waste 3 hours every night watching Netflix or a movie, or like playing video games and dicking around. And they don't actually take it seriously. These guys do. Every single second in their day is scheduled in, it's blocked in, it's very intentional. And they live as if they were going to die tomorrow. That's like, it's hard for me to explain this without you actually seeing it firsthand. It wasn't until like I was on a private jet with Dan flying to Texas for a couple days that I saw how dialed in he was, how dialed in his team is, how like just his calendar is like there's no wasted time. Same with Ed. Everything was scheduled, it was structured, it was dialed the fuck in. And I was like, wow, these guys are like, they're not waiting around, they're not wasting time. They're just like, they're so locked in that it's kind of scary and a little bit ridiculous to most people, but they don't want to be like most people. And if you're watching this, neither do you. Cool. Number 13, they understand that rich does not equal wealthy. I learned this from one of my mentors, Taylor Welch, and he's sold hundreds of millions, or at least over 100 mil online. And I think he's got like, first time I met him in person in Charleston, he was wearing like a shirt or a hoodie that said that. I was like, oof, that hits. And what they do is they build and they buy assets. They don't blow cash on stupid shit. Or maybe they did and they learned the lesson, they got pinched and they're like, not again, right? I've learned that lesson too. And that's like one of my themes moving forward, is like building assets and building long-term wealth, because I've learned how to make money. I'm learning how to keep it and multiply it. Those are two completely different games. Like, to keep it multiplied versus to make it, not even in the same ballpark. Crazy. And these guys have mastered that. They prioritize the long term over the short term. They don't care what happens right here and right now. They're willing to delay the gratification. They're willing to push that out in the future to bulletproof themselves and to build a moat around their lives and their businesses and their families. And I respect that a lot. So they're very wise stewards of their money. Number 14, they're incredible communicators. The way they communicate, the way that they talk and present themselves and carry themselves is incredible. And some of them actually like And this doesn't happen by accident. So for example, when I was in Texas with Dan, when we took a jet down, he was on the Chris Williamson podcast. And it was like I think it was like the longest podcast that Chris has ever done. And like it was a banger. But Dan asked Chris, hey, what was like the one thing, like if you could like boil it down to like one thing that helped you absolutely pop off and become like the Chris Williamson that we know and love today, what was it? And Chris told him that he hired a speaking coach. He hired somebody to teach him how to speak properly, because the way that we speak, like when we grow up, the way that we're taught to speak is not how the most successful, influential people in the world speak. They're very calculated with every word they use. They're very intentional. They deliver their words extremely well, and they're very, very clear. And so if you want to be influential, if you want to make a big impact in the world and achieve mass success and wealth for yourself, you have to learn how to communicate. So I was in New York last weekend at an event that was all about, it was a full 2-day event, like 16, 17 hours, all about speaking from stage. So I could refine my communication skills and speak more clearly, speak better, present myself more or better. See, clearly I got some work to do. Okay, number 15. They protect and optimize their energy like nobody else I've ever seen. So a lot of people don't fully understand the impact that energy has. And I think this comes from maybe psychedelics, maybe their relationship with God. I don't know, but they truly do understand that everything's connected and that all we are just beings of energy. And when we're in a low energy state, we're not very productive. We can't get anything done. We can't produce really high quality output. Whereas if we're in a high energy state and we create that energy for ourselves, then we can, and we can go all day long. And so if you wonder how these guys get so much done and how they just hammer through life, it's because they intentionally and consciously put themselves in a high energy state more often than not. And Dan has told me this once before. He's like, I create energy. I create energy. So if I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling low, he's like, I just choose to have more energy, right? You can do some like breath work techniques and stuff like that, like deep breathing or just like something like that to like get you into that peak state again. And I just released a video talking about some of my biggest takeaways from spending a day with Ed Milet. And if you watch that video, I talk about how he really stressed the importance of putting yourself in that peak state and some of the physical cues and triggers you can do to get yourself back in that high state of energy so you can actually do your best work and feel really good. So they protect and they optimize their energy. Number 16, they're very generous and they enjoy serving. Now, a lot of the most successful people that I know, they want fulfillment and they want to give back, and giving back to other people gives them that sense of fulfillment. Dan's got a great quote. He says, if you've made it to the top, it's your duty and obligation to send the elevator back down to help other people get there too. And so he's got this event called King's Club, where just a few weeks ago he had like over 300 youth, like local youth here, and he did a talk, right? He asked me to speak at it, but something happened and I'll be speaking at the next one hopefully. But apparently his team filled the spot already and he didn't know when he texted me. I was like, shit. But also a little relieved because that was like, it was literally a few days before I was flying to New York for the event to learn how to speak from stage. I've never done anything like that before. So it was like, the most I've ever talked in front of is like 30 people, whether it's like a high school class or like my clients at a mastermind, which is like very intimate. And this was like 10x that, it was like 300. So I replied back, I was like, dude, 100% I'm in, before I could talk myself out of it. But anyways, that fell through, but hopefully we'll do the next one. But anyways, so that he does that, like, and he spends a ton of money to do that, right? But so it's not like a business thing, it's a servant thing. It's giving back, it's a contribution and impact thing. And one thing that like I've taken a huge page out of that book as well, in terms of like, there's a lot of kind of younger guys where I live that are entrepreneurial. They're trying to get after, they're starting businesses, and some of them are doing really well. And they're looking for somebody like to kind of mentor them. And when I was going through that, like 3 to 6 years ago, I didn't have anybody like that in my life. And so like, it's pretty much like once a week at this point, I work out at the gym with one of them. Like I invite them, hey, come to the gym, let's get a pump in, something like that. Or like they invite me to like their house or like an office to do a talk with like 8 to 15 of them. And it's super cool, right? I get nothing out of it. Sometimes we record content, which is cool. But it's extremely fulfilling for me. It fills my cup up and I love it, because I wish I had that coming up as well. Like Iman, for example, he builds schools. Dan, he does the King's Club. He wants to give away 10,000 books or 10,000 copies of Thinking Real Rich to high schoolers in Kelowna here. Ed's got like a family foundation and all that kind of stuff too. So when we get the office, ideally January 1st, they said the contract should actually be on the way today, which is cool. But I'm gonna start doing a lot of stuff, like a lot more stuff in person once I have that office space with a lot of these young guys, because it fills me up a lot. And I know that like they just want to change their life and the people around them as well, and they want to change the world, and I want to help do that. So that'll be really cool. So they're very generous. They enjoy serving, whether it's through their time. So Dan spends a lot of his time and his money, or through money in terms of like just a family foundation, donating to other organizations to make an impact and stuff like that. Last year I donated, I think like 42K, something like that. We had a big week, and I gave half of it to charity. One was I bought a house in El Salvador. Not bought a house, but like I donated a house to a family, and I actually flew down there and built it, which is insane. I have a vlog on my channel. Go check that out. It's like I built 30 homes in El Salvador for families that didn't have one or something like that. It's sick. And then also a bunch to Operation Underground Railroad too, to help children from human trafficking. But yeah, it's interesting. That stuff feels good. In a way, it's like selfish too, actually, because it makes you feel good, so you want to do more of it. And like it's kind of backwards and weird, but it's good. So cool. All right, next up, 17. They optimize for fulfillment. They don't do shit they don't like doing. They don't spend time with people they don't like spending time with. They don't do anything that they don't enjoy doing, right? Now, I'm not saying like sometimes when you're working and you're doing shit that has to be done, like, and there's no one else to do it, you got to do it, right? You got to grind it out. But when you get to a certain point where there's like a bit of an inflection point where you actually have a team, you have people around you, where you have the resources to get other people to do the things you want to do, that need to get done that you don't want to do, they do that. Tim Ferriss has a great framework to like go through your stuff and like look at all the things you do on a daily basis, eliminate it. If it can't be eliminated, try to automate it. If it can't be automated, try to delegate it. And then from there, that will help you kind of pull out a little bit. Dan's book, Buy Back Your Time, phenomenal. He's got the time and energy audit, right? So what are the things that drain you of energy, that you just don't like doing, that you don't want to do anymore? Try to offload it. And then when you free up your time, spend that time doing high leverage activities that will make you even more money and make you feel really, really good. So they optimize for fulfillment. They want to have fun, right? They like doing fun shit that fills them up with energy, and they don't like doing stuff that drains them. And so that's really, really powerful. Number 18, we're almost there, guys. Don't worry. They're very self-aware, and they understand their strengths, and they optimize to do more of the things that they're good at and less of the things that they're not good at. And so what I mean by like strengths, I mean like unique abilities that like they're the best in the world at, that it's like a gift given from God. And it's something that they're just like everybody has these innate abilities, these unique strengths. And so like there's something inside of you that does not exist in most other people. It's something that's unique to you, something that you were given. And again, like, yeah, something that you were given that you're really, really good at. that you enjoy doing, that fills you up with energy, that you love doing, that other people might hate or they might not be good at, right? But you have to identify those things for you. And for me, it's learning new things and then passing it on to other people and like teaching and helping them rise up. That's one thing that I really love doing, right? And when I'm stuck in the trenches, so I like to think creatively. I like to kind of think outside the box and do new things, right? And figure out better ways to do things that we're doing. But when I'm stuck in the trenches, in the day-to-day operations, I feel like I can't do that, and it starts to drain me of energy, and I start to lose excitement and love for what I'm doing, and it kind of sucks. And then like you have the thoughts of like, oh fuck this, why did I even start this in the first place? I built a business I hate, stuff like that, right? If you're thinking that right now, there's a way out, but call down below will help you. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's always a fixable problem. Dan's book is also great, so pick that up if you haven't yet. The first like chapter or two literally talks about that, how to unhate your business. That's what the whole book is about, basically. Really, really good. But anyways, yeah, so they identify and they understand what they are uniquely gifted at, and they optimize to do more of that, both with their time and their calendar, but also with their money in the bank account. 19, they sacrifice themselves for the cause, or for a cause. So kind of what I was saying earlier about like when you start out, your intentions are probably going to be a little selfish. They're probably going to be internal, right? But then as you grow and you achieve all that internal stuff, you buy all the material shit, then you realize it doesn't actually bring you fulfillment. It might bring you happiness, but not fulfillment. And what we're chasing is fulfillment. Happiness is fleeting, it comes and goes. It's just a basic emotion. Fulfillment's much deeper. And they sacrifice themselves right now for that bigger purpose, for that mission, for that vision, for that cause. And sometimes they might not even know it, but like they just feel pulled in that direction. They feel called and compelled to do that. And so like even still, like these guys are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and like they're working harder than they ever have before, because they could retire, they could shut it down and go chill on the beach somewhere, right? Take it easy and enjoy life. They can rent cars in Italy and have some fun, but they don't. Well, maybe they do sometimes, but they understand that that's only going to make them more miserable, and it's not going to make them fulfilled. And so they have discovered their why, their purpose, their reason for showing up every day, and their reason for doing the things that they do, because it's something greater than them. So figure out what that is for you, and you might not know right now, and that's okay. I think it's one of those things where like it takes a while to kind of evolve. It looks a few different ways, and like it might not be perfect right now, but just keep going in like the rough direction of what you want, and then eventually like it'll just become clearer and clearer every day. Number 20, we got two more. They think outside the box, they're creative, they're innovative, and they're very unique. So they don't go around like they don't say shit that everyone else is saying. They don't do things that everyone else is doing. They do things differently than what everybody else is doing and saying. They're very unique in their approach, and that's why they are where they are today. Now, I've called it for the last couple of years, I've called this like the principle of opposites, where when I started my business, I looked around, I was like, what's everybody else in the industry doing right now? All of the ads are like, oh, we'll show you how to get clients without spending $1 on ads. I was like, fuck that. Here's how to get clients while spending money on ads, so you don't have to do all this boring shit that you hate. And all of like the ads programs and courses I've gone through are like 2-hour-long videos for like 8 weeks. And like, if I sign up to get more leads and get more traffic, I want that now. I want that fixed right now, right? We're all looking for that silver bullet, that magic pill, right? Yet, first it's like, okay, week 1 is like mindset, and then we go week 2 is offer after 10 hours of trainings and worksheets and all that bullshit. And then from there it's like marketing, and then from there it's sales, and then from there it's mindset, and then blah, blah, blah. And then finally week 8, we finally turn the ads on after building the funnels, the emails, and all that bullshit that you don't actually need. And then if you even make it that far, which most people don't because they don't have the discipline or the time or the consistency to actually watch the course fully, then finally you solve your lead problem, right? But then now you gotta spend 50K over the next 6 months to test and figure out and test hundreds of ads and figure out the best ones. And if you're lucky, get a 3x ROAS. And I was like, fuck that. I don't want to do that. That sucks. So what I did is I flipped it on its head. I was like, okay, week 1, we're solving your ad problem. We're solving your lead problem. We're launching ads. Boom. And then it's like straight out the gate. Then we'll fix all the other shit. So I just did the opposite of what everyone was doing. And now I get incredible feedback every single onboarding call that I take with a client. They're like, dude, I love how simple it is. And it's just like so straight to the point. And then that's why our client results look the way that they do. Like, go follow me on Instagram, Jeremy_Pogue, if you haven't already. And literally every single day, without fail, you'll see my client wins from that day or from like the previous 24 hours. Go through my story highlights. Like, nobody else is doing what we're doing because they're doing what everybody else is doing. It's simple. And so the most successful people I know are the ones that think outside the box. They're creative. They don't box themselves in to what most people think they should be doing. They bend reality to their will and they create their own reality. Finally, the last one, this one's extremely important. They hold themselves and everybody around them to extremely high standards. In order to have extremely high standards, you have to be operating from a place of truth. And truth is the highest frequency you can operate from, which means the higher your frequency that you're vibrating at, the higher, like the faster and the more better things you attract in your life, right? The higher frequency you are, the higher frequency of people you attract as well. And so they hold themselves to a very high standard in terms of their thoughts, their beliefs, and their actions. And so most people don't hold themselves to a high standard because they're not being truthful with themselves. They're not being truthful with the things they know they need to let go of, the vices that are holding them back. It's like they're trying to get to the next level and then their vices are just grabbing their ankle and pulling them back down. And they keep making excuses. The ultra wealthy, they don't. They acknowledge that, they say, fuck that. They chop that arm off and they keep going. So they're very truthful with themselves. They hold themselves to an extremely high standard. They lead from the front. They're not afraid to just go through get dragged through the mud and kicked in the teeth. And so as a result, because they hold themselves to a very high standard and they're operating from a place of truth and integrity, they hold everybody else around them to that same standard. Otherwise, like I said before, they get rid of them. And so this could be like their families, their team members, their clients. Like, they're not afraid to tell the truth because they know that the truth will serve them. The world has too many cheerleaders out there. We don't need more. What we need is people to tell the truth. There's too many lies, too much illusion and bullshit out there that we need to just refine it, dial it in, and be truthful with ourselves and with everybody else. There's like a great quote from the Navy SEALs. It's like, you don't rise to your goals, you fall back to the level of your standards, right? And it's the exact same thing. So, or like your training, exact same thing. But the higher when you raise your standards, the higher you raise your baseline of operating, and then the higher and more results you attract and you create in your life. So those are the 21 main traits that I've learned from meeting and working with and learning from ultra high net worth individuals that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's been just incredible. Like, it cost me a lot of money to be in these rooms, like tens of thousands of dollars each time. But what it does on like an energetic level is it like forces my brain to just like level up, and forces myself, my standards, the way I operate, the way I compose myself to just level up as well. It forced me to think outside the box, bend my reality. And a lot of people think about a lot of people throw it all around where it's like, oh, like proximity is key and stuff like that. It's like, you don't actually fully realize that until you do get in the room with the right people. You really, really don't. And so, yeah, whatever amount of money that they ask for, like, it's worth it. I don't even have to think twice. And so my accountant probably doesn't love me too much, but I love it, and that's all that matters. So Michelle, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but it'll help me make a lot more later down the road, and that's what matters. So yeah, anyways, that's the video. Thanks guys, bye.